I love my job. I teach early years and every morning I'm greeted by 34-year-olds full of imagination, full of hope, full of aspiration. But our schools, the heartbeat of our communities, have been under a sustained attack from those in power. A decade of Tory austerity has pushed education to breaking point. 7 billion has been taken from school budgets since 2011. This has led to a narrowing of the curriculum, fewer subject choices, less support for children with SEND, and an increased workload for us all. A hostile environment has been created in education for young people and for our colleagues. Our young people face an education system that's currently rooted in this toxic exam factory culture. A culture that creates a climate of stress that has driven the mental health of our children into crisis. Our colleagues face a ruthless accountability regime that's driven by Ofsted league tables, the privatisation and marketisation of education. Teachers and teaching assistants have been denied a decent pay rise since 2010. We've got colleagues who are unable to pay the rent, are unable to afford the rise in cost of living, and have been driven to use food banks. It's not just our colleagues who've been driven into poverty. We have 4 million children currently in poverty. Each one of them sat in our classrooms. It can't go on. I've seen the poverty, I've seen the hunger, I've seen the inadequate clothing and the poor housing. No child can flourish when they're forced to live like this. If I'm elected as Vice President of the National Education Union, I'll make sure our union is front and centre of the fight against child poverty, because our children deserve a better deal. It doesn't have to be this way. We can reclaim education for educators and for children. Education can transform children's lives. We must continue to work with parents, governors, our communities, and fight for an education system that's fit for all children, an education system that has social justice at its heart. We must build our union in schools and colleges where it matters most, and make sure that there are union reps in every establishment. And we must redirect resources to make sure that that happens. So I'm asking you to vote for me. For the majority of my adult life, I've been fighting for social justice. I've been fighting for my colleagues, for children, inside the classroom and outside the classroom. I have the experience of leading national campaigns, of leading local campaigns, of influencing at the highest levels, of organising mass mobilisations. I'm asking you to elect me so that we can fight child poverty, strengthen campaigns for fair funding and against school cuts, so that we can fight for fair pay and a manageable workload for all staff, so that we can organise to oppose no-notice inspections and abolish Ofsted, so that we can campaign to end toxic, high-stakes testing in primary schools, and so that we can drive to end academisation and the privatisation of comprehensive education. With the election of Boris Johnson and his hard-right Tory government, we need to be a union that is ready for the fight. Together we can build a movement for change. We can build an organised grassroots trade union that's led by its members, one that can defend our colleagues and be a voice for our children. So put a 1 next to Daniel Kebede, put a 2 next to Causa Jan, and let's reclaim education for educators and for our children. Thanks.